Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. We're showing some Assassin's Creed Syndicate footage here, and I know I've done that a lot on my channel. We're seeing Evie, who's way up above Big Ben. But I'm not actually talking about Assassin's Creed specifically this time around. I wanted to talk about London, and I figured this was the best way to showcase the city itself. Why do I want to talk about London? Well, it came as a surprise to me, but apparently it's my favorite city. Alright, so as some of you know, I've been a big fan of Mainmeister, Alan Stewart. Even met him on our trip to the UK recently. And unfortunately, one of the big things that I really look forward to on Alan's channel is the Friday Waffle, where every Friday night he would get to sit down and tell his various stories of the week, talk about gaming, and even answer questions. It's something that I've really enjoyed for a couple of years now. I think he's been doing it. Most recently, though, Alan decided that it's time to hang up his hat and take a break from doing the Friday Waffle. It's not going away permanently, but he's kind of taking a little break from it. Now, the good news is there's another YouTuber I follow that I actually heard about from Ben over at T-Rex Space Station. His name is Brad Allison. He also goes under the moniker of Guy in Kalamazoo, which is definitely a town with an awesome name. Now, Brad every Sunday does a similar thing to the Friday Waffle. What his is called is From My Window to Yours. And I really recommend you check out Brad's channel. He's got very few subscribers, and I feel bad about that. He loves talking about, he's a big fan of Gears of War, that's for sure. But what I really like is on a Sunday evening, he's got his From My Window to Yours, where he'll talk about stuff, and it's maybe going to be my replacement for the Friday Waffle, since unfortunately that's going away. Now, in the most recent one, Brad was talking about he's really looking forward to playing Watch Dogs 2, and he never played the first one. So why is he so fascinated with wanting to play the second game if he never did get around to playing the first one? The reason, he says, is because it's taking place in a great recreation of San Francisco. And he then mentioned San Francisco is his favorite city. Now, he lives in Kalamazoo, but he's been to San Francisco many times. I think like 20 or 30 times over his life. That's a big fan of a city. And for whatever reason, it got me thinking, like, if I had to fill out a quiz, or if somebody, put it on a little questionnaire for me, what's your favorite city? I really suddenly thought to myself, I have no idea. I mean, I live in Vancouver in Canada, and that certainly is a nice city. It's gone through a lot of changes over the years. I liked it more when I was young. Maybe that's just nostalgia speaking, but Vancouver's got its problems these days. So then I thought, well, okay, let's take your home city off the agenda, or off the list here. What other city would you consider to be your favorite? Clearly, from the footage we're looking at, London wins the prize. But I thought a lot about it first. Like, I thought, okay, well, what other cities, either in Canada or North America, or the United States, I should say, because I've been across a few different cities in Canada. I mean, not too much far east. I've been to Toronto and Montreal, and Quebec. But I feel bad. I haven't really visited that many other major cities in my own country. But I've definitely been to many places in the United States, West Coast, East Coast, even the middle. And we went down to Yuma and Death Valley, various other places lately. So I've been across the U.S., and I like a lot of cities there. New York, and I haven't been to Chicago. Having said that, I haven't been to Chicago. Anyway, getting off track. So what about European cities then? And for some reason, London just resonated with me. I thought, yeah, I've been there many times over the years. It's a really amazing city. It has so much history, but even the people just charm me a lot. And yeah, I'm just thinking to myself, again, if I was ever asked that question, what's your favorite city? I think London would win. Now, it is worth noting that I actually lived in the UK for 4 years back in the 80s. I was living in Cheshire, and when I was living there, I would often visit the city of Manchester, not far away. And I really, really like Manchester. It's a very close contender for this favorite city designation. Certainly, as far as English cities go, Manchester is a very close second to London. But I think that's largely nostalgia speaking, and my affinity for kind of northern England. Having lived there and knowing the people and having a lot of friends there, I quite I have an affinity for them. And on our recent trip to the UK, we actually went to visit Bath in the opposite direction, and I really liked Bath. That was an amazing place. But I've only been there once. I don't think that should really qualify. Oh, by the way, we're approaching Trafalgar Square, and I just wanted to note this red building here, I think it's Woods and Son or something, that is actually in real London. I've walked exactly where Evie is on our recent trip. I did a little Assassin's Creed tour of London, and yeah, that red corner shop there, it's actually really there in London. If you approach Trafalgar Square the way it is in the game here, that still exists. That's pretty cool. Yeah, there's the lions there too, and I actually tried scaling Nelson's column in my top hat. But anyway, we're not talking about Assassin's Creed. I got to avoid that. We're talking about London and the English, and how here in Canada, English culture has kind of pervaded a lot of what we have. I mean, I'm way over on the west coast. I'm 6,000 miles away from Britain. But British culture is very much alive and well here in British Columbia. But there's a few things that are very, very British that really strike a chord with me. And one of the things I wanted to actually bring up, there's a show, it's on Netflix. I'm sure those who live in the UK have already seen this. Might have been a BBC production. It's called Very British Problems. And all I can say is if you want to know what it is that I'm talking about how the British can be so adorable, watch Very British Problems. If you sympathize with any of the things they talk about in that show, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Just like in the opening credits of that, I too would rather eat a plate of cold sick than to actually register a complaint with a waiter. And what I really love about London is it's an entire modern metropolis full of people who think that way. And it's just incredibly charming. What I also like about London is, and it's in the architecture, I'm actually moving Evie here up to these doors on purpose. You see the way these doors have like a certain style to them? I don't know what it is that. I think in America they would call that colonial. Is that Edwardian or Georgian? I don't know. I'm not an architect. But when I went to London about 5 years ago, I went to Greenwich just to stand on, the Prime Meridian like a lot of people do. And I noticed around that area, there's a lot of buildings like that. You can sort of see how there are layers of history in just every corner of London as you're walking around. I'm currently walking Evie up toward what is in the game, Piccadilly Circus. It looks a lot different today, and I talked about that in my Assassin's Creed tour. But you can go there today and you can see all of these historical things, but you can see the layers that were before there. You've got all the older buildings like Westminster Abbey, the Tower of London. You've got things of this era with like Piccadilly Circus and those buildings I was just talking about, which I don't know. It all kind of strikes me as like different deep parts of London that still exist. And then, you've got all the modern buildings as well. You've got that big thing that looks like what is it, like a big shiny blue American football? I think do they call that the Gherkin? Is that the one? I don't know. Anyway, there are so many modern buildings as well in London. Like the whole place, it shouldn't really work. Even the English flag up there. The whole place, you get the impression that having so many old things and so many new things and so many people from around the globe all mishmashed together in one major city with all of the problems that major cities have. I mean, I talk about how Vancouver's got its issues. It's got nothing compared to what Tokyo and New York and Chicago and London must go through every day. And yet, somehow, it seems like London manages to pull it off. I mean, when we were there in our most recent trip, one thing I was looking for is Vancouver's got a big issue right now with rapid population growth, and we're sort of hemming people in, squishing them in like sardines as much as we can. Sorry to say that. If anybody from Vancouver is watching, go ahead and disagree with me in the comments, but it's true. And I went to London thinking, okay, if Vancouver's got that problem, London's just going to be a massive anthill. And sure, it was more crowded, but I was really impressed that, the transit system was properly scaled for the number of people. There were never any periods of time that I felt, there was one time in rush hour. Outside of that, I never really felt under any major pressure or strain or concern. And the people were super friendly and very, very nice. And again, it just speaks to what is so great about London. So, I'm going to stop the video here. It really surprised me when I discovered this about myself. Apparently, London is my favorite city, and it was only because of Brad Allison's video I even thought about any of this stuff. So, what's your favorite city? Maybe let me know in the comments below. And until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.